All right, people, you probably want to know what's the best and cheapest way to replace your 1kd if it's worst case scenario. And the best, cheapest way is to replace it with a brand new, genuine, long motor, not a rebuild. That is not, a new motor is not a rebuild. A rebuilt motor is a rebuild. That's a reconditioned motor. That's where you've relied upon someone or a business that's tried to somehow get some workers that have got some skills, that don't make mistakes, that do everything right. And if in their videos, they give you a lot of wrong torque specifications, like the majority wrong of the ones they've shared, that does concern me as to how good the quality could be. And then if there was companies out there rebuilding engines and I came across people that had cracked pistons under 100,000 kilometres, then that would concern me also. Now, apparently everybody's got different information, and you know what? Somebody said, I saw somebody sent me a comment recently about me hating someone. I don't hate anyone. It's not like that at all. We just need to correct the information and give the correct information, because of course, there's different information, and both lots of information can't be correct, can they? If you know what I mean. So if the torque specification is 22 Newton meters, then it's not 25. And if it's 16, it's not 25. And if it's 13, it's not 25. And if we know for a fact from documented paperwork from Toyota that the torque is 22, 16 and 13, it's not 25, 25 and 25. So we don't want people thinking that it is 25. So we will go out of our way to provide the correct information while trying to sort of, we're not trying to cause trouble with anyone, but they're just giving out wrong information. Now, engines. So let's just go ballpark. Somebody says, so if this engine's 10 grand, how is that cheaper than getting one for 9 grand? Well, this is how, because if you get the one for 5 grand, right? So if this engine was 10 grand, how's it cheaper than the one that's 5 grand? Well, 5 grand, it's a rebuild, right? So it's just some old block. It's got some pistons in it that somebody reckons are awesome, and they pat them like a kitten. And there's plenty of people that rebuild engines there, and they probably reckon their engines are the best. So it doesn't really matter who's doing the rebuild. You might get lucky, you might not, okay? So I'm sure, they've done hundreds and thousands of rebuilds, all these places, all around the joint, because there's hundreds and thousands of people that have got chips and tunes, and obviously their information, about 50% of them, and probably people lie as well, do you know what I mean? So with the remaps and the tunes and stuff like that. Now this is the other thing, we'll have another video soon. I'm going to tell you when your 1kd is going to blow up. I'll tell you exactly when it's going to blow up so you can plan for it, okay? Everybody's a bit worried now. Yeah, you better subscribe, turn their bell on, because I know when it's going to blow up, and I'll tell you exactly, but it won't be in this video. This video is, okay, this engine is a $10,000 engine, more or less. Like I said, different part numbers, Prado, Hilux, different Prado ones, different Hilux ones, whatever. And every time I get it priced, they keep going up anyway. But so we're just going to use that 10 grand ballpark number. This engine comes with injectors already in there. Okay, so there's a couple grand or so worth, depends where you get your injectors from. If you went to a Toyota dealer on the West Coast, you'd took it about $900 an injector, people were quoted. So 9, 18, 27, 3.5 grand worth of injectors. Anyway, it comes with the 5 fuel pipes. There's about another $600 or $700 worth, because new injectors. So new engine, you need new injectors, you need new fuel pipes. These injectors are already in there. Some of these $5,000 engines, they don't have injectors in them. You can buy injectors off them or from somewhere else and put them in, but you've got to pay for the injectors, you've got to buy pipes, and then you've still got to pay someone to work with the engine off. See this? It's all done in Japan. Not that we can't do it, but it's how it's done. The cover's on, we don't need to take it off. The return line's all torqued, Mickey Mouse. The nozzle seals are in there, and there's tape over there. So all you need to do is fit up your common rail and put your new fuel lines, and even people that don't know what they're doing can't go wrong, can they? Well, sure they can. There's so many things on this engine that's been removed, and obviously everything needs to be refitted. Here, we've got a couple of jobs going on over here. Let's go over there and I'll show you some of the components so you can work out where it all goes. All right, so we've got another engine over here. Here's another brand new engine. I'll just give you a bit of an idea of some of the jigsaw puzzle people have got to deal with. This is kind of just the beginning, right? So you've got radiators, you've got, your oil cooler there, you work it out, inlet manifolds, common rails, you've got all sorts of hoses, starter motors and fuel filters and intakes and EGRs and bonnets and batteries and fans, and you have a look, there's all the stuff there, right? And that's not it. It continues, right? So up here on the table, at the moment this is just contained for a few days until the person gets back to the job, because this is replacing an engine DIY style with a bit of assistance, That's a, you just got all these components. So yes, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. There's lots of nuts and bolts that can go missing and get mixed up and lost if you don't know and you're not really organised. But to give you an idea, here's some of the components. You need to really clean up the EGR cooler. There's a whole heap of work with that. Manifold, if it hasn't already been cleaned. And all this stuff needs to go back on, and it needs to be done correctly, nothing forgotten, so it's reliable, so you can still go and travel around the outback of Australia in your Prado diesel, because that's what a Prado 4x4 diesel's for. It's for the tracks and touring. If you don't use it for that, then perhaps you should have got the RAV4 or the Kluger. So this is why this engine is the cheapest option, right? Because if you, say we started off ballpark numbers, 10 grand, and you take off injectors and pipes, let's say 3 grand, you're down to 7. This one's got a water pump, right? So with our engine kits, what we do the timing belt, the idler, the tension, all brand new. So you've got a new water pump, new drive belt, new idler, all your bearings and that. So it's like a BFE kit. A BFE kit and coolant, that's around about $800-900. So there's another $1,000 off. So you're down to 6 because you're getting your BFE done. So you got to look at the value for money you're getting with the engine, right? And then, of course, there's a few other bits and pieces that, you can reuse or replace. But the point is, it brings the difference down from that rebuilt option of, 5 grand, ballpark numbers. And then you got shipping, because it's got to get shipped to somewhere in Australia, where this engine, if you happen to get it from a Toyota dealer, it's probably going to be, you can just, pick it up from your local dealer on a trailer or something like that, rather than have to pay hundreds of dollars of shipping getting a rebuilt engine across Australia. So look, it might be too late for a lot of people. I just want to get people thinking though, value for money. Would you rather trust a factory in Japan of quality to build this engine from brand new materials? And if you're going to spend that sort of money on the engine and then the labor on top of that, it's the old poor man pays twice, which we've talked about with other things. And we're not trying to sell engine jobs. For years, I'm trying to sell the maintenance. And it works because, you know what, there's so many people we've got in our VIP group that don't have the piston crack problem. Then there's all these people that have got the chips and the tunes and the remaps and this sort of thing, and they're the ones that tend to have the problem. So at least I'd say probably more than half the vehicles, from the people that contact me, it's certainly the majority of people with cracked pistons have either chips, tunes, remaps, or old flogged injectors, or if it's low kilometres, then somebody's probably had the fuel pipes off, the contamination thing here, pipes bent back, dirt and crap in here, and the thing's not working right. And you don't always know with the newer vehicles, because the software package, we've talked about it before, it's really awesome and it hides all the problems, okay? So just be aware of that. Engine replacement, not a small job. It is difficult to get it done right the first time. It's been going on for years where we've had people bring cars into the workshop that have had engines replaced, whether it's a new engine or whether it's a rebuild, and there's problems, whether it's the engine leaking oil, blowing smoke, old injectors in it still, or whoever did the workmanship and they forgot to put some nuts and bolts and hoses and clips and plugs and, vacuum lines and all these things, there's so many, look, there's a whole heap of things down there, look at it all, it's all over the joint, isn't it? It's just crazy. You work it out. Anyway, I think it's awesome value for money. I don't know about those rebuilt engines. If they run them or not, I don't know that. Somebody can let me know in the comments. But, these engines are actually built and test run. They actually have been run in Japan. Okay, they connect them all up and they fire them up. And so you're not going to have any problems. It works. They know what they're doing. All new components. They've got these quality control. I mean, have a look. That's what people are going, what are all these marks? What do you think? Yep. They've got their quality checks, mate. You know what I mean? So you're just not going to have an issue with it. It's like buying a Toyota. That's why you're stuck with Toyota. If you go and get a rebuild, I reckon you might as well just go and get a LDV or something like that. I mean, each to their own what you want to do. But anyway, look, I'm just trying to open people up a little bit to think about it. You can do whatever you want. Get your engine wherever you want. Get your engine off me. Get your engine off an engine rebuilder. Get your engine from a Toyota dealer. You can get us to put your engine in. You can get someone we know to put your engine in. You get someone we don't know to put your engine in. But you know who's going to do it right the first time, no problems. That's what we do. Obviously, it takes time. You might pay a little bit more money for that too. You get what you pay for, right? So if you think you got a cheap price, whatever, well then, you go for the cheap price. We don't do cheap prices. We do starts from this. And that's, I suppose, another video. There's a couple other videos still we've got to do. One of them is, you've got to understand, you bring us a brand new stock standard Prado, bring me a 150 Prado, brand new, from the factory, and we'll change an engine cheaper than we will than one that's done 400,000 Ks and it's got every other accessory under the bonnet and around it. Do you get what I mean? Aftermarket tyres, lift kits, dirt, dust, corrosion, bull bars, antennas, light bars, fuel filters, catch cans. I can just keep going on light bars, wiring, mesh spaghetti. All these things create work, and it creates a massive, I've got to tell you, it probably makes it, I reckon if we had a car that was brand new, the engine job would probably take us about half the amount of time, okay? Because everything's clean, all the plugs undo, all the bolts undo, everything's clean, and that's my whole point, right? So the cleaner it is, the less modified it is, the more money you're going to save. But then again, if you've got a stock standard Prado, it's probably not going to have any issues, because it's always the highly modified ones with the big tyres, the chips, the tunes, the remaps. I picked it up with 280,000 Ks on it. I did the injectors at 320, and that leads us towards the next video. So at this point, I'll say, if you want to know more, subscribe, turn the bell on, and remember, we are closed. We're taking a break. It's a bada bing, bada boom, and we'll catch you on the next video. There is some more to come out, but we might miss a few days here or there, because that's what taking a break is. Catch ya.